We will need breeding sheep, commercial ewe lamb, class 1 on deck. Peyton, Rokov, Kelly, Olivia Kelly, Reese Anderson, and Carly Christensen.
Again, as today, I want to thank the committee for having me come up and get to work with your youth and evaluate your livestock. I cherish these opportunities I get. I've got 3 young kids at home. This class is a very good representation to get these kids in the ring and started with a good project. Out here we have Miss Taylor and Poppy, and they're doing an excellent job. Let's give them a big round of applause.
That was our Clover Kid, Kelly Youngkin. We need commercial ewe lamb, class 2 on deck. Olivia Kelly, Leah Boyson, Carly Christensen, and Chet Boyson.
nice set of 4 females to go ahead and lead off our breeding new division. In my opinion, this one that leads off just is more of a lady, especially up through her front 1/3 when you really look at her. Her flank to chest floor transition is ideal. I love how tall shouldered this one is, where she really gets it up for me over the one that's going to come in second. I love the set to her hind leg. She has enough set to it. It's about ideal in my opinion. If you want to be ultra critical, I'd like to get her just a little bit more up in her loin edge. She wants to just get a little bit washy out there. She wants to overdrive on the young lady, but that's a really nice female to go ahead and lead off this particular class. The broody, big barrel middle one is the one that's going to come in second. I really like natty ewes or natty sheep in general quite a bit. Those are my speed. This one just needs to get a little bit shallower about her front end in comparison to the one about, that leads off this class. I would also like to maybe see her just have a little more set to her rear hock, but a nice big centered, big back kind of female to go ahead and land in the 2-hole. Coming in third, we have one that's a bigger scale, bigger outline type of female. We like those things about her. I'd like to open her up from end to end in relationship to those 2 that are right ahead of her. I think that she has more than an adequate amount of length of spine, length of side. I like her structural correctness. I just like to open her up. And the young lady that's rounding out the class brings us one that is structurally correct. I just think she gives up too many pounds, just too much muscle today for the ones ahead of it. But you do love her femininity up to her front 1/3. I just like to give her a little bit more pizzazz when you get back and view her from the side.
For winning this class, we will need the first and second place class winners and on deck for the champion commercial breeding ewe and the reserve champion commercial breeding ewe.
got here in class number 2 of our breeding females, and there's one that leads off this class and does so quite handily in my opinion. I love how opened up she is from end to end. I love her touch and tone. I love her muscularity. I love her foot and bone. If you were going to change this one ever so slightly, I'd like to shallow her up from top to bottom line. I'd like to elevate her through her front 1/3, but that is a big broody one that still has more than enough structural correctness, blends in really good through her shoulder and angles to her set hock. Just a really logical one to go ahead and lead off in this particular class. The young lady that comes in second brings us one that is a little bit more upscale, a little bit taller shouldered in terms of relationship, definitely has the advantage in length of spine. She just runs out of gas, especially in her lower 1/3. I'd like to just stouten her up right at the ground, move up through her, so just open her up, just give her a little more base width, but especially in her rear end, I'd like to just go ahead and give her a little bit more mass and shot of power. The young man that comes in third has that extra set to his or width to his rear 1/3. I would just like to get this one a little bit neater about her flank line. She wants to drop her neck set under ever so slightly and fight the young man and whenever he gets her out on the move. But that one is upscale, big framed, has a lot of neat look. We just like to change her up to her front 1/3 ever so slightly. The young lady brings this one in here that's very well presented that comes in fourth. I just really breed this one to have a few problems that it's hard for me to get around in a brand new situation. I'd like to open her up in her forerib, which would translate to more rack shape when you get up high. But her biggest issue for me is when you get her out on the move, she gets really straight on both ends of her skeleton. She wants to get up high in her top. I think that was just a really prudy type of female. I just like to fix her on both ends of her structure to go ahead and move on up. Another nice class for all 4 of those individuals. Let's give them a big round of applause.
We're picking champion overall for they are qualified, the winner qualified to go to the best of the West, which is a showdown with all the other area county fairs. If they win that, go to all Iowa showdown. Best of the West shootouts July 31st in Denison, Iowa.
Following the champion and champion reserve, we will need the Market Lamb individual white braid influence on deck, Kayla Lund and Peyton Brockoff.
is a small breeding division. I think that there's 4 quality individuals out here that, if made in certain ways, could definitely affect or move the flock forward in which they're designed. To me, there's one out here that probably excels over the 4 that are in this group. I think there's one that's just a tick more extended, but still has that ideal look from the side. In terms of where she's at, I think her handle's really good. I do like that she's up-headed. I love her neck set. The young lady out of class number 1 is going to be our champion. We'll drop that blue one in to take the reserve. Drop that second place one back out of that class, and like I said then, I don't like a lot of parts and pieces about that one. I think she's more than adequate in terms of her muscularity. She's big center, she's big back. Does she have as much rear end as the one that wins the heavier class or the second class? No. She's probably a little bit longer spine. She's definitely got a little bit better neck attachment. I think there's kind of some give and take. I really like the white hided one that comes in this second class for her touch and tone. That one definitely has probably a bigger cage in terms of width and expansion. She just wants to get a little shorter from side to side in relationship to the blue one. I probably do like her chest floor ever so slightly. I think it just kind of is where your priorities lie to go ahead and be reserved. But for me, the one that hits me second best today is going to be the young lady with the blue one, first class. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Your grand champion breeding you was Olivia Kelly, and your reserve grand champion breeding you goes to Reese Anderson. Reserve was for Carly Christensen.
Neighbors? You got your hair the same and everything. I thought maybe you guys knew each other. You know each other.
We need Market Lamb individual lightweight on deck, Taylor Lund, Carly Christensen, and Olivia Kelly.
Very interesting pair to sort in this whiteface division. These things are very, very similar when you really analyze them a step back, even down to their pigment on their legs and feet and nose. I mean, these things are very much carbon copies, just a little bit different in a few areas as I see them. The young lady in the red shirt is going to go ahead and lead off this class. This one just gives me a little bit better striking silhouette from the side. He's shorter about his blade work. He's taller about his shoulder. His proportions are maybe just a little bit right, or more correct in my opinion. I would like to see him have a shot more lower leg in relationship to the one that's going to come in second. His biggest advantage is he's just not quite as overdone as the young ladies that's going to come in second in this particular class. I think that the one that comes in second definitely has the advantage in terms of just width and power, especially on the rear end of his structure. I do appreciate that about him. With that being said, he gets a little more breasty about his front end, a little bit more open about his shoulder, and definitely has more bark or more cover on him at this point. But a very nice pair for these young individuals. Let's give them a big round of applause.
We will need Market Lamb individual middleweight on deck, Sienna Michaels, Carly Christensen, Chet Boyson, and Chet Boyson.
Nice way to start off our blackface market division. The one that leads off in this class, I like a lot of things about how tall shouldered he is. I love how elegant it is about his front end. He has more than ample amount of foot and bone when you take it to the ground. I think that that's just a pretty logical place to start this particular class. Not to take anything away from the young lady that's going to come in second. I do appreciate this one's width and power, especially out of the rear 1/3 of its skeleton. I would just like to clean this one up about his breastplate, clean it up about his front end, and maybe lengthen it out. But you cannot over-deny the power and width from end to end that this one has. Very nice pair for those young individuals.
Champion lightweight Market Lamb went to Olivia Kelly, and reserve champion lightweight went to Kayla Lund. Eagles heavyweight on deck. Leah Boyson, Sienna Michaels, Olivia Kelly, Leah Boyson, and Olivia Kelly.
To me, there's an awful lot of give and take in this class, and I think anybody standing ringside probably has your favorite. We all have to have our type and kind, and this young man probably suits me probably best in terms of where I see my type and kind. I like how elevated he is about his chest floor. I like how short and bladed he is. Where this one wins for me versus the one that's going to come in second, he just is more opened up to the top side of his pin set. I would like to go ahead and give him more in his lower shorts to compare to a couple of these other ones in here, but I think that just his structural build and quality just rivals anything else in this class. The young lady coming in next brings us one that when it hit the ring probably was my favorite in terms of where this one is. You just get your hands on it. He gets disappointed at the top side of his. I'd like to just go ahead and add a little more terminal shape and muscularity when you get up on top of it. From there, the young lady coming in next brings us one that's probably more appropriate in its finish in terms of where it's at. I would like to go ahead and just shorten its blade up, give it a little shot more bone and foot and substance to the ground, but another nice one to go ahead. The young lady probably presents the one that is the biggest problem for me in this particular class of market lambs. Just the broodiness and stoutness that this one has, you've got to appreciate. She's just pushing a lot of white muscle for me today. She's just past her prime and just comes in a little bit too quick a package. But a nice class of these young four individuals. Let's give them a big round of applause. Interesting top pair here. I think you could, again, based on where your priorities are, probably you could flip them one way or the other based on what you kind of deem ideal. This was just more structurally correct when you get back and view it from the side. I'm not saying he's ideal in that regard. I'm saying he's more acceptable in my opinion than the one that's going to come in second. I like his length of blade relationship to the one that's going to come in second. I like his length of spine. He runs uphill. I would like to see him handle with a little bit more fresher tone. He wants to get just a tick soft. That's probably what kind of comes into my mind in terms of where he's at in his progression. I think he's acceptable enough for the class, and I think that's just a pretty logical complete one to go ahead and lead off. The young lady brings us one here in second that definitely has the advantage in terms of freshness and high quality. I do think he comes with a little more cover, even though it maybe is a little firmer in that regard. I do think that this one has a lot more breastplate, a lot more shoulder in it than the one that went ahead and led off the class, but a very nice one to go ahead and land in second. The young lady with the blue fiber one comes in third. That's kind of a meat and potatoes type of weather. I like his handle, I like his firmness. He just runs out of gas in his lower shorts and loin edge, but he's more acceptable in terms of how his handle is up over his rack and his top side of his skeleton. I would just like to go ahead and balance him up through the rear one-third of that one to go ahead and compete with the ones ahead of it. The young man brings us one here in fourth that definitely does balance up better. He definitely has more lower leg and hip, but this one also has a lot more cover in terms of where he's at, which makes him round over his top. It makes him round out of his shoulder, and this gives him a little bit more less ideal or eye-appealing look, a less terminal shape in terms of when you get back and look at it. And the young lady that's going to go ahead and round out this particular class brings us one that does have a little more tone than the one right ahead. He just runs out of things that, in terms of my opinion, he's wrong on both ends of his structure. He gets a little straight off of his shoulder. He wants to fall off in his loin edges. But another nice top, all four of those. Let's give those kids a big round of applause.
All right, we'll go ahead and do our top 5 rated game while we're getting everything lined up for champion overall Market Lamb. Peyton Borkoff won champion rated game. Well, there's a tie for champion rated game at .91 between Peyton Borkoff and Olivia Kelly. Peyton Borkoff. And then Olivia Kelly got 3rd, Chet Boyson was 4th, and Leah Boyson was 5th. All had good grades gains of .84 and above. We'll also do the Bud Christensen Memorial Award while we're here. It goes to an outstanding junior member working with their sheep project. This year's winner is Peyton Borkoff. This is your champion, Margaret Drive. Like I said, whoever wins this is eligible for the Best of the West shootout there on July 31st to represent Shelby County against the other area counties.
Following the overall, we will start with the senior showmanship.
Tail means sheep next year.
We get out here for our champion market lamb selection. I know it wasn't a large show, but the kids have been very pleasant to work with. It's a pretty morning out here to help sort your stock. As I've stated before, I have 3 young kids at home. This is day 4 of me getting to sort livestock and work with youth in a row. This was also our county fair week, and my wife's at home pulling 60 head of cedars for an AI on Monday. We got flush stuff going on. So with that being said, I mean, I'm out here because I want to be out here working with kids and youth. I really have a passion for this. I think this is a great project. We start talking about the livestock and not so much the kids, because the kids are all working really well. As I break these down, the white face, I think that one just won that particular division just on structural correctness up to his front 1/3. Definitely was trimmer than the one that came in reserve. The one that came in that lightweight division, I love how upfronted he is. I love his shoulder construction. He has an ample handle. I really like his foot and feature. If you want to be ultra critical, maybe just a shot more lower rear end, but that was a really, really cool kind of one to go ahead and land in that particular division. The one that came in behind it, a little shorter spine, a little straighter on both ends. Cannot deny the amount of power that that one had. The young man that come in the class 3, we like that one quite a bit just in terms of how that one was constructed. I like his angles, they all read correct. I like his finish in relationship to maybe the one behind it. He's not quite as firm to the touch, but he definitely has more hip, more hind leg. I like those things about it. The one behind it definitely had a neat touch. I like the front 2/3 of that one. He just ran out of gas in relationship to the one right ahead of it. And the young lady that won our heavyweight class with this big boy down here on the end, I love his just completeness in terms of where he was at in that particular class. He's opened up, he's muscular. Yeah, we all can see that he's pushing just a tick more cover maybe than ideal, but I think he handles it more than adequate in terms of where he's at. If I was going to be critical where he needs to be, I'd like to shorten his blade and especially his breastbone. He wants to get a little bit pointy out there, a little goose-fronted, but I think that one definitely coming into contention. I think he's a very, very nice sheep. Let's give all 8 of these exhibitors a round of applause. We'll go out and select our grand champion and bring the second place for reserve.
Grand champion market lamb went to Olivia Kelly, and reserve grand champion market lamb went to Sienna Michaels.
we get out here for senior division, and we got to commend all three of these young individuals for coming back out. We only get to pick two, and that's not to take anything away from the third individual. I think that there's three very high-quality showmen. I think they've done a nice job. It's not been an overly long show, so I can remember most of the stuff that happened throughout the day in terms of ring presence, using the ring. The biggest thing is just getting your animals where they need to be. I'm a big stickler on front end, and I really want that thing to be up and up and where its neck needs to be. I think that you just kind of got to have some ring presence, kind of look at where the holes are and things of that nature. Maybe just don't want them things to overdrive or pull down on you. There's one individual that's done a really nice job all day. There's another one out here that does a good job in terms of just doing the basics and getting the eye contact. And then there's one that just probably didn't have its partner cooperate, especially when we got him out and walking. We'll go out and shake our champion, then our reserve, but don't take anything away from the third young individual. Let's give all three of these kids a big round of applause.
Champion senior showman went to Sienna Michaels, and reserve champion went to Kayla Lund. Next is intermediate, Chet Boyson. Next we'll do junior sheep showmanship. We'll need Greta Boyson, Peyton Brockoff, and Olivia Kelly on deck.
Of all the decisions I've done today, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get this one correct. This young man's doing a really nice job out here. Let's give him a big round of applause for coming out here and exhibiting his sheep today. He's stuck with it and done a nice job. Your champion was Jet Boyson. By far the hardest decision I've had to make in my mind. I will judge showmanship. Obviously, it's part of the job, but I think both of these young individuals are doing a great job in terms of where they're at. There's one that's just probably a little bit more poised, a little bit more confident. There's one out here that's doing an excellent job. Just needs to get a few more of the basics. Just get around that one just ever so slightly, maybe get his neck and things up in that nature. But they tell me we're going to do a grand and reserve overall later. It'll be fun to get these two back out here. The young lady in the red's going to be grand in this particular division. The young lady in the green will be reserve. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Champion Junior Showman went to Olivia Kelly, and Reserve Champion went to Peyton Brokaw.
Phil's judging the champion showmanship. I'd like to thank him for taking the time to judge the sheep here show today, and he will be judging our goat show that's up next.
I guess this is the last thing I get to sort today, so I'll leave a couple parting words for those of you watching just the sheep and moving on. This is by far my favorite project that you can raise youth in. There's a lot of things we can do. Obviously, every family has their thing. This is our family's thing, is showing stock and raising stock. And it's definitely a family thing. It definitely takes a village, and I know these kids probably maybe don't appreciate it right now. But someday, I'm sure a lot of parents and people around ringside probably think back on the days that they got to do this fondly and pass that passion on to their kids. And I think that's probably where these kids need to understand it, that they're just not out here on their own. It definitely takes moms, dads, a team behind the scenes to get a lot of these things done. This showmanship thing is very subjective. We'll all guarantee that in terms of where they're at, in terms of how they are. You know, the partners have to participate and get along well. We have to have some look and some attention. We also have to just make sure that those feet and legs are where they need to be. We also have to have some ring presence. I think all of these individuals do a very good job. There were some other ones that came through earlier in the day that had a nice job. There's one out here that just kind of sorts herself away from the rest of them, and then I think it gets a little bit closer for reserve. To me, I just want to thank everybody from the fair board for having me come sort the sheep. I know I get to do the goats here in a moment, but thank you for having me. We're going to go out and select our grand and reserve. Let's give all the kids in the sheep show a round of applause.
We will get started on the goats in about roughly 5 minutes. We'll have the Clover kids come on deck, and we need Mara Jewell, Jonathan Jewell, Marianne Jewell, and Carly Schmidt.
So I see 33, 34, 35. You guys all related?
In the ring, we have our Clover kids exhibiting their goats. We have Amara Jewell, Jonathan Jewell, Marianne Jewell, and Carly Schmidt.
Little lady, is it a boy?
In the barns, we'd ask that the dairy goats start getting ready to head to the gate. We have our first class is the junior kids birth and under 4 months, with 1 entry, followed by the senior yearlings with 1 entry. Please be making your way to the gate. All right, guys, let's go in a big circle. We'll go over there, okay? So this is, as I say, I hate judging showmanship. This is one of my favorite things to get to do. We're not going to judge these kids. We just get to talk with them, get them in the ring, get them used to it. I learned a lot of things from the young lady up here with the dairy-influenced goat, that she has 20-some goats at home, and they're definitely her favorite animals that she ever had. And then to these other 3 individuals that some of them claimed that they were related, some of them didn't. Some of them said maybe they were the stubborn ones, some of them said they were the spoiled ones. It was definitely a different dynamic. To a goat named Billy Bob that I thought, well, that has to be a boy. And nope, it sure wasn't. It's a girl, and I had to understand that. So we just learned all kinds of fun things. Let's give all 4 of these kids a big round of applause. They're doing a great job out here.
All right, now entering the ring is the senior yearlings, 12 months and under 24 months. We have exhibitor Matt Hansen. Please be getting ready your does, 2 years and under 3 years. We should have exhibits from Matt and Paisley.
Okay, what do you do if you don't drink it? Make cheese, make soap, whatever you do. Make soap. You quite a bit of soap with it? Okay. So is that a pretty good deal? Or just like, where do you throw it? Good, so let's go ahead and go around. End up right back to the next. Very nice way to lead off our dairy show. One that is very structurally correct, or very sharp in her top line. I like the way her neck and shoulders assembled. I like the set to her hock. She has more than enough udder development and udder quality under there. She's definitely fresh and going. Everything looked like it's balanced and smooth. Her ligaments are tight and where they need to be. Just a very nice individual for the young man. Let's give him a big round of applause.
You'll need Paisley Hansen on deck for those 5 years and over. I know that these are the only two in this class, and in my mind, the way they're very polar opposite of their make and design, even though they have the same goal in mind and they have the same thing. I mean, the young man up in the way I read the young man's up front, I view that one to be the cleaner, more feminine about her head and neck. I love her shoulder angle a little bit better. Where I really like her is when she gets out on the move, she's better out of her hooks and pins. She has better set to her hock, and I think her ideal was a little more ideal length of body. Where I do struggle with that one in relationship to the one right behind it, I do wish she was more opened up. I wish she was more or bigger in her barrel and forerib. I do think those things kind of come into play. But when you get back and analyze it, I think that whenever you start analyzing udder quality and where they're at, the young man just has just a little bit more today in terms of where it's at. The one here at the back's got just a little bit flatter about her udder. She also has one of her quarters. One of her cord just a little bit less than the other, but that's being nitpicky. I think there's definitely give and take with both of these. We're going to go ahead and lead off with the young man and follow up with the young. Let's give these kids a big round of applause.
single entry or not, this one's very good in my opinion. She's kind of a combination of the last two females we've seen. She might not be quite as elegant through her shoulder angle and things as the one that led off that last class, but she has a good set to her hock. I love how base width she is. She's really opened up in her rib and center portion of her body. Where she's going to excel later on is her udder development is huge. Obviously, she's fresher and more mature in her development where that's at. She's got a good attachment. Her teeth spacing and size is correct. A really nice young individual for the one, or a really nice individual for the young person. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Now we'll do Grand Champion, there you go, and Reserve Grand Champion, there you go. So we need Matthew Hansen, Paisley Hansen, and Paisley Hansen in the ring. Following the champion and reserve champion, we'll start with the ornamental goats. We need junior yearlings, 8 months and under 12 months. We'll need Ellie Hansen on deck.
I know we had a small dairy show, but a very nice one. I think all four of these individuals out here have a lot of quality. And as I talk to the young individuals, they're making byproduct or an added product with the milk from these things. And I think that's a great thing to start teaching responsibility and just some cool things to do. To me, there's one out here that that excels this particular group of four. I think it gets really, really close for reserve because I see a lot of similarities in the two. The young lady with the more mature doe is going to win this, and I think does so quite handily. From there, we get a little bit closer between the two first places in terms of reserve. I read these two very, very similar in their design, very similar in their structure. There's one little thing to me, and that's just being critical of the snapshot I have today. The young man with the black's going to have one that's just a little bit wider base when you get in and view it from behind, but that also could come with maturity. But he's going to go ahead and be reserved. Let's give those kids a big round of applause.
Your grand champion went to Paisley Hansen, and reserve grand champion went to Matthew Hansen.
starting off in our ornamental division, I think there's a single entry here that has a very nice structural in terms of where she's at on her feet and legs. Maybe the angle of her shoulder isn't exactly correct, but she definitely has a bright eye, really good about her head and neck. You like those things. I do like how she gets out and moves on her rear too, ever so slightly though. She just wants to get a little bit over on her shoulder if you want to be super critical. Very nice single entry for the young. Let's give her a big round of applause.
In the ring, we have senior yearlings, 12 months and under, 24 months. We'll need on deck the senior division over 24 months, Addison Eccles.
Yet another single entry in our ornamental division, and one that I do like in terms of his structure on both ends of his skeleton. I think that he definitely reads correct in his angle to his shoulder. He reads correct in his angle of his hip. If I was going to be critical of this one, this guy wants to get down on all four pasterns. He wants to be a little soft-footed for me today. I don't know if that's be a Bosey or a mineral thing, but that would be where I would correct that fella. But a pretty nice entry for the young lady. Let's give him a big round, or her a big round of applause.
Following the senior division, we will do the grand champion and reserve grand champion.
Another single entry, and we're starting to get rolling. It has a little more age on it. I thought, again, structurally correct about its shoulder, its angle to its hip. I think it's more correct on its pasterns. It definitely is more up-footed in terms of the one that was just in the last class. If I was going to be ultra critical on this one, he wants to hawk in a little bit from behind. But again, that's just being critical of one, and that's kind of where we got to evaluate these things is on structure and design. But definitely an ornamental project. Let's give this young lady a big round of applause.
Following the grand and reserve champion, we will move on to the breeding meat goats. So we'll need senior kids 4 to 8 months. And we'll need Cal Barrett and Paisley Hampson on deck.
small ornamental show, but let's give all three of these exhibitors a big round of applause for bringing out their projects. I'll be the first to admit, ornamental goats is probably not my thing, but I think anybody can kind of evaluate structure and the way they see them. Their goal is to be, landscapers or just pets or whatever the goal is. There's a lot of different things we can do with these projects. So you kind of got to sort it on structure and things of that nature. No doubt all three of these can do the job that they're meant to do in terms of getting out there and doing whatever they need to do to clean up brush or to just be a companion or whatever the heck we're going to do with these things. I think all three of these are more than adequate in that regard. There was one out here that just takes a little neater stride when it gets out on the move. There's one that's just a little bit taller shouldered, a little bit more arrogant about its head and neck carriage. The young lady with the weather on the end is going to be our champion. From there, I think it gets a little bit closer. The one has a pasturing issue, just a tick. The one maybe is just a little bit longer about its shoulder. We're going to go ahead and lead towards the one that has the more structurally correct feet today. The young lady at the front will be our reserve. Let's give these kids a big round of applause.
We'll need market goats on deck, lightweight, Clara Schmidt, Katie Schmitz, and Paisley Hansen.
The champion of this breeding meat goat class will represent Shelby County and best of the week.
Only 2 entries in our breeding goat division for the market side, or the meat goat side. And I think there's 2 individuals out here that are very good in their own regard. To me, we're going to go ahead and lead off with the young man up front. He just brings us one that's more opened up, has a bigger center portion of his body, just definitely more thick from end to end. I love that one's topside shape. If I was going to be critical, I'd like to just go ahead and make it a little bit taller at the point of the shoulder in relationship to the one that's going to come in second. But that's a very nice individual to represent your county at the showdown. I think the young lady that comes in second brings this one that definitely has an advantage in terms of length of neck and just quality of front end design. I just wish she had more gas. It looks like she's been doing her job, or she just needs to get more groceries in her to kind of bounce back. But a very nice, structurally correct individual for the young lady. Let's give her a round of applause.
Kel Barrett got Grand Champion Breeding Meat Goat, and Paisley Hansen got Reserve Grand Champion Breeding Meat Goat. We will need middleweight market goats on deck, Katie Schmitz, Reese Anderson, and Clara Schmitz.
very interesting way to lead off the market division. And I'll be the first to tell you, I can flip-flop this top pair based on kind of where we're at. There's just too much goat for the one that's going to go ahead and lead off this particular class. He definitely has the biggest top in terms of where he's at. He definitely has the most turn to his lower stifle. If I was going to correct him in relationship to the one that's going to land in second, I'd like to open him up in his fore-rib in relationship to the one that goes ahead and comes in second. I love how elevated he is up through his front 1/3. I love how high he is out of the top side of his blade. A pretty nice one to go ahead and lead off this particular class. Not to take anything away from the young lady that lands in second, I do like this one in terms of how round-bodied and round-caged he is. He just doesn't have the quite maturity yet. I think his better days might be ahead of him. He wants to break right behind his shoulder. He just doesn't agree with his true dimension is the one that goes ahead of it. I do like him better at the ground. I think he's bigger footed, definitely bigger forearm. He definitely has the power indicators to be probably stouter in the end. It's just not there right now today. And the young lady that brings this one here in third, definitely the most immature one in terms of where it's at. I'd like to just go ahead and stouten that one up all the way to the ground. He just doesn't read to have those power indicators to even when he does mature to go ahead and mass up, but he does need some more days on feed to be there. Let's give all three of those kids a big round of applause.
First went Paisley Hansen, second Peggy Schmitz, and third Claire Schmitz. Next on deck, we will need the heavyweight market goats. We need Paisley Hansen, Kel Barron, and Matthew Hansen.
Very nice way to come into our middleweight division, and this one that leads off does so quite handily in my opinion. That one's chest is really, really good. It's square out of the back side of its blade. It still definitely handles with enough firmness and tone. I love the amount of terminal shape that one has. You maybe just want to stab him up just a tick from behind and definitely give him a little shot more bone to the ground, but that's a really, really cool one to go ahead and win this particular class. The young lady that's going to bring the dark-headed one that comes in second, I think you could kind of make an argument of second and third here. This one definitely just has the more extension up through the front 1/3, definitely has the longer sided one of the individuals. I'm just not sure, he just is getting a little bit too greasy on the top side of his skeleton in relationship to that class winner. He wants to get a little rounder on both ends and just loses some of that squareness, but a very nice one to go ahead and land in too. The young lady that comes in third brings this one that definitely has the advantage in terms of width from pin to pin. I will grant that. I just would like to see this one come in a neater package in terms of how that one's made. Make him a little more streamlined throughout, but another nice one to go ahead and land third. Let's give all those kids a big round of applause.
Following this class, we will do the goat rate game, and then we'll bring in the grand and reserve.
Very interesting trio, and I think, again, I sound like a broken record, but all three of these individuals are very nice for what they are. The one I'm going to lead off with, and I'll be the first to admit, this top pair is very close in my opinion. There's give and take. I love this one's probably shoulder angle and just how open he is, but still blends his better on the point of the shoulder. I will be the first to admit he just doesn't have quite the terminal the one that comes in 2, and he definitely doesn't have the length of spine that the one in 2 has. I do love how rugged he is. He reaches big in his forearm, he's big-footed, it goes all the way to the ground. The advantage this one has is he can't. You get him out on the move, this one definitely takes an easy stride off both ends of his skeleton. He's definitely more correct in that proportion. A very, very cool one to go ahead and lead off. Not to take anything away from the young man that's coming in second, I love the added extension, I love the added look up through the 1/3. He just doesn't maybe quite read with as much power indicators from the rear 1/3 of his skeleton all the way to the ground. I will be the first to admit, when you get your hands on him, he is the biggest racked one of the trio. Right behind his shoulder, he just explodes. It just kind of runs out, especially the top side of his hip when you move your hand down it. He just gets a little narrower chested if you want to be ultra critical. I love his extra length, I love his extra extension. Again, this young man that comes in next, one that is broodier, more opened up than probably the one that comes in second. I like those things about it. He just gets a little bit more common about his front end, definitely a little bit more common about his bone work and show ring appeal, but he's big back, he's big caged. I'd just like to see him have a little bit more extension and look to go ahead and rival number 2. I'd like to see him have just a little bit more forearm and foot to rival number 1, but they're nice one. Let's give these kids a big round of applause.
Champion heavyweight was Paisley Hansen, reserve with Matthew Hansen, Cale Hansen was third, or Cale Barrett. We'll go ahead and hand out the top 5 rated again while we're getting people situated for overall market go. Cale Barrett was champion rated again with .43. Paisley Hansen was reserve, followed by Paisley Hansen, Katie Smits, and Claire Smith.
Get out here for our champion market division, and there's 6 individuals out here again that at a county fair level can compete a lot of different places. I think that there's definitely some quality and good in all these. I definitely think there's some sort, don't get me wrong, but I think all these projects have done a nice job in terms of getting them to their end point, getting them where they need to be. With that being said, I think that there's one out here that just excels a particular group and does so quite logically, in my opinion. I think this one's just a little bit neater about its front end. I think this was definitely square at all angles when you read it. Definitely is fresher and more tone to the touch. There's another one out here that falls logically in reserve, in my opinion. I love how big-footed and burly this one is to the ground. I love it when it gets out on the move. The young lady out of our middleweight will be our champion. The young lady out of our heavy will be reserved.
Champion meat goat went to Reese Anderson, reserve Paisley Hansen. Reese will represent Shelby County at the Best of the West in Denison.
You already told me about your project. This is Michael in the back. Did you decide whether it was Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan yet? All right, let's go ahead and go to circle.
Get out here for senior division, and as I state all the time, I hate judging kids. We're going to judge the skill at where they're at right now. That doesn't mean that none of these kids can get better, and it doesn't mean that any of these kids are doing a bad job. There's just some out here that fit my style a little bit more. I like it when they get out and move good. I'll be the first to admit that, or move well for proper grammar. But I also am a big advocate of the judge has to get a look whenever they're set up. I like their legs to be square. I like the showman to look comfortable. I think that all three of these ladies do a nice job. There's a few things I tweak about every one of them. I only get to select a couple of them. To me, the young lady on the end is going to be our champion. The young lady in the middle will be reserved. Take nothing away from the young lady on the other end. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. project? I know he's an ornamental Billy, but what do we do with this project? Tell me about your project. We get out here in our intermediate division, and there's 3 individuals that definitely, in my opinion, just represent what this project should be. You can talk to these kids, you can definitely tell that they have these things at home. They definitely love these creatures and animals based on what there are. Everybody has a different idea of what stock can be used for, whether it's milk, whether it's meat, whether it's a pet or an ornamental in some regard. We all have our and I think all of these projects are awesome in their own regard. You start talking to these kids. I have a pair of kids at home that have some goats on feed, and they absolutely love them. You can just see from ringside, it doesn't take a judge to evaluate the love and bond that these kids have with some of these animals, the passion they have to go ahead and be out here. We definitely see those things involved. To me, there's one out here that probably just is a little more in my speed and style. There's one that definitely does get a little bit more of an upright brace. And there's one that definitely has a lot of care and quality, and take nothing away from the third one that's going to get left out. To me, it gets a little bit closer, all 3 of these positions. The young man on the end is going to be our champion. The young lady on the other end is going to be our reserve. Let's give all 3 of these kids and the young lady in the middle a big round of applause.
Champion intermediate went to Matthew Hansen, and reserve champion went to Ellie Hansen.
Tell me about your project. Assuming you raise this one or bought this one. Okay. So how many goats you got at home? And then basically the mainly the dairy, correct? So you buy your meat. So you know what he's eating or how he's going? Okay. You know where his home is? Tell me about your project. You want to stay open the hungry.
Tell me more about it.
We get out here, I assume this is the junior division. We start looking at these kids at a younger age, but I don't think it matters. I think there's as good a showman out here as we've seen all day. I think all three of these kids are doing a different job. Even within divisions, you can see there's a difference in just experience and confidence and things of that. When we talk to these kids and ask them questions, there's also a difference in knowledge and experience and things of that nature. I think all those things come into play whenever you start analyzing it. Again, sound like a broken record, I have to pick 2 out of 3, but that doesn't mean that any of these 3 are doing a bad job. There's definitely things we better in terms of getting better. Even if you win, there's things you can do better. To me, there's one out here that just has a little more poise. I love the way that this young person goes around the ring. I love how poised they are whenever they get one stuck. Maybe just has a little bit more natural presence. And then I think there's one that does definitely had a really good conversation with and definitely knew their project very well. And then I think there's one that just really likes doing it, but I think that they just are not quite there in terms of just maturity or age right yet. So with that being said, the young lady in the middle is going to be our champion. The young lady up front is going to be our reserve. The young man at the back is going to be bringing it up, but let's give him a big round of applause.
Champion went to Paisley Hansen, and reserve went to Claire Schmitz. Now we'll do the overall champion and reserve champion.
It's been a short day, but it's been a great day. I've really enjoyed being here. I want to thank the Fair Board for having me. I want to thank the youth for putting up with me in the ring. The livestock were really fun to evaluate. I love working with kids and a project that definitely is ag driven. I was an ag teacher for 18 years. I have 3 young kids of my own. Like I said before, I've got my families at home pulling cedars. This is my 4th day of getting to judge a livestock show in a row. We had our county fair this week. We have AI next week. My family lives this stuff. I appreciate and understand the hard work it takes. For those of you that do podcasts, I was listening to a podcast on the way up here, and it really did kind of hit me, some of the things that were being said. I don't get to see this part, I only get to see this part as the judge. It's a quick snapshot in the ring of these kids, the attitude with which I'm greeted with the ring people, the people at the county fair and things of that nature. I also live the other side of it at home as much as anybody here in this barn. My life is driven around agriculture, around show animals, around raising kids in agriculture and showing. So I understand the hard work. If I didn't give you, if you thought maybe you had the better one today, I understand that. I've been there. I'm as competitive as anybody. On the backside, I want you to understand I was here doing the best job I could in this brief snapshot that I was given. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys could at least hear what I said, hear what I was seeing. With that being said, let's talk about the kids. I think that all 6 of these individuals do an excellent job. There's definitely some differences in quality in terms of where they're at, show ring presence, maturity. There's definitely some differences in styles and types and kinds. We get all that. All of this breed this species among all things definitely has more division than anything else in terms, in my opinion, of where we're at in this industry. I think each one of those things have a goal with mind, and I think that a lot of these kids are hitting those goals. With that being said, there's one individual out here. My wife will argue all day. I do have a somewhat decent memory in terms of where we're at throughout the day. I kind of remember the Sorry about that. I do remember these kids coming through the ring throughout the day. They've all been respectful. They've all done an excellent job. There's one out here that they've been out here multiple times. They've definitely had their animals set to the highest standard in terms of where they're at, no matter what. Maybe they didn't get the placing all the way along the way that they deserved or thought they deserved, but they never showed it on their face. The young lady out of our junior division is going to be our champion. The young lady up front will be our reserve. Let's give these kids a big round of applause.
Champion overall showman with Paisley Hansen, reserved Reese Anderson. I would like to thank Philip Dottie for judging our sheep and goats here again today. That will conclude the sheep and goat show for Shelby County Fair.